Morning.
Oh, here we go. The little lady telling me it's being recorded. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. John Dyer, there's our wonderful Kelly there, and to the right is Bob Herzog. This is his first time doing one of the broker things. He's one of the voices on the other end of the hotline, and a pretty good dude. He's been around. He's been around a long time. He's second generation like me. So uh, we're gonna cover a few things, and we'll get to y'all's questions. Andrew is not here, but he wanted us to talk about a few things really, really quickly. I do apologize. I think I may be getting a cold. I sound really nasally, and I'm coughing, but I'm quarantined in my lounge chair with the TV on. I mean the computer on. So first of all, the first thing Andrew wanted to talk about is the terrifying necessary evil that is owner agent transactions. And I call them a necessary evil because anything in our business that puts errors and emissions coverage at risk, we should all see as kind of evil because that's never a zone we want to go into. Obviously, E&O insurance and risk management coverage are primary, and you can, someday you may end up with a claim for something that really didn't have much to do with you. But on owner agent transactions, we have, let's just say we've elevated our requirements and restrictions. We've done that because we had to, or because we weren't quite as tight as we used to be. So remember, owner agent transactions have some basics to it, and this is not just our policy. This is Article 4 and R4281101D of the law, as well as 28B and Article 2. As far as starts with the disclosure, and you literally have to disclose your license status. And when I say your license status, I'm really talking about the buyer seller, because we have clients out there that have a real estate license that we're representing them. They are still an owner agent. If someone's license has expired and they're in that 1 year grace period, they are still an owner agent required to disclose. If someone is inactive, they are still an owner agent and required to disclose. This gets way into the category of, when in doubt, disclose. You also have to disclose mom, dad, brother, sister, children, grandchildren, grandparents, and the same relationships of a spouse in the event you have a step family, like some of us do. It needs to be in all marketing. If you have, flyer, it has to be on there. You have a sign, it has to be on there. There's an agent in town. I feel really bad for this guy. He's one of those, works with the iBuyer, is small, but definitely small in the iBuyer world, but to most of us, a substantial investor. And he was doing owner, he owned part of the LLC, and he had 100 signs out. Not one sign did have owner agent on it. And remember, you're an owner agent if you own 0.001% of the property. If you have any ownership, no matter how small, an LLC, a corporation, a trust, no matter how minute your little part may be, and again, when I say you, I'm talking about any owner agent, it must be disclosed. This guy, I feel bad for. They got him for $10,000 in fines from the Department of Real Estate. They hit him for like $100 every sign. So the department takes this really seriously. And in some situations, if anything goes wrong in the transaction, and it ends up in litigation, not just someone turning you into the department, it is what lawyers call an extra zero. So your $10,000 lawsuit just became $100,000 simply because you have a real estate license. And if you don't do it perfectly, our E&O, and I want to share with you a very painful experience in my life. I've read E&O policies before. I don't recommend it. It's a horrific and painful thing to do, but I probably read 10 or 12 of them. And the part about owner agent is very, very tight. Our requirements are you disclose everywhere, and to begin with. And the one area where I find most people mess up is when you're doing iMarketing, like Facebook, and you don't opt out, and you're getting splattered all over the place, and even other agents are you're not there posting your listings. The only thing that shows up is the main picture and the public remarks. You must have owner agent as the last couple of words in those public remarks, or every time that ad runs, it's potential $300 fine, and they'll nail you for it. But in contracts, because in MLS it has a little owner agent box, but that doesn't show up to the general public when it's marketed outside. That's number one. In the contract, it must be disclosed. If you're doing an owner agent as a listing and another agent calls, always ask them, please put owner agent in section 8. If not, you must counter. And we all know this. This is like rule number 1. This is like one of those things they smack you with in real estate school. But yet probably a third to half of owner agent transactions that I review, of the 3,000 documents I review, feels like every day, owner agent is not disclosed. It's one of the main reasons why I kick contracts, or, we also require an owner agent addendum be signed by the buyer. And that addendum states just basically they've received an opportunity to inspection, spuds, etc. And on an owner agent transaction, to have E&O coverage, you must have spuds, insurance claim history, home warranty, and the buyer must do an inspection. None of that stuff can be waived. Not that ever waiving that makes any sense to me anyway, on behalf of buyer or seller. On an owner agent transaction, those are required, and that's on that addendum. If for some reason we have any issues, then you will be required to sign as an owner agent, our owner agent indemnification. And that's the one you want to stay away from. That's the place you never want to be. That means if things go wrong because you missed something, that any lawsuits, they're not covered by E&O, are 100% on you, and you're indemnifying the company against it. And the reason why this is such a big deal is you're 4 or 5 times more likely to be sued as an owner agent. It's a historical fact. That's one of the few statistics that hasn't changed in my 42 years in this business. They love to come after owner agents because we're supposed to know better. So make sure you get that right. And if you know that it's the listing agent is selling his own house and you write an offer, do them a solid. Go ahead and write, seller's a licensed real estate agent in Arizona in the contract. We don't want anyone to get burned, even with people with other companies. And it's a real simple mistake to make. But and if we slides by, it can lead to horrible things. So that's my grumpy, scary, unpleasant thing to start with. Bob, you have anything else to say about owner agent?
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, as it pertains to E&O insurance, when I owned my own brokerage, I learned a very valuable lesson, and that is you got to remember that this is E&O insurance. So the E&O insurance company is always going to look for a way to get out of backing us up. I mean, it's insurance, just like homeowners insurance, home warranty companies, everything else. They're looking to see if we missed any documents where they can skip out on us, right? And it's not, I mean, the owner agent thing is huge, but for instance, the last time I had a policy in place for my brokerage, if we had those things that John just mentioned, the home inspection, the what was it, John? You listed like 3 or 4 different.
Home inspection, spuds, insurance claim history, home warranty.
Yeah, if we had all those documents in place, we only had to pay a half of the deductible. Okay, but if we were missing one of those documents, we paid the full deductible because they are looking for ways to pay less. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Meaning we have to offer a home warranty, John?
Yes,
there has to be one on the property at closing. That's the most recent nail that they drove into us on this, was they had home warranty. And by the way, home warranty, especially as an owner agent, for me is a no-brainer anyway, because it gets rid of those dumb phone calls. Because one of the problems being an owner agent is after closing, we're still easy to find. Typical sellers, a buyer may have a hard time finding them. Your phone number is not going to change, and they can always call the office. So it is, I call it peace of mind insurance, but it is a requirement.
So but the seller's policy is fine. It doesn't have to. Yeah. What I'm saying, we don't have to give them a year of home warranty. We can just have a seller's policy.
Yeah. As long as they're buying the home warranty, there needs to be a home warranty on the property at closing that covers the buyer.
Right.
Oh, so okay, so a seller's policy wouldn't cover that. Seller's policy expires at close of escrow. So
Yeah,
we
But
need to offer them.
if you do a seller's policy, you're also agreeing to make it for a year for the buyer closing. They don't just give you a seller's policy because they're free until you close. So a seller's policy is free to close. The deal there is when it closes, they extend the warranty anyway. But it's like I said, it is high. It's highly restrictive, but it's all intended to protect you because you're substantially more likely to get sued. The target is much bigger.
Okay.
And Bob, I had a conversation with my daughters. I have to explain to my millennial daughter that insurance companies aren't there to pay claims. They're there to try and not pay claims. They thought this was just big bank accounts. So when something goes wrong, they come and lovely write you a check. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and I'm with you on the owner agent thing. There's just no excuse for not just doing it, right? I mean, obviously in a case where it's not owner agent, you've got two different brokers and people, no one's tied together and all that. You can have someone that waives it. And in our E&O policy, it did say, in those cases, if it's in writing that they were offered the home warranty, that was the key, and they waived it by checking that box and signing, we were okay. But in an owner agent situation, it has to be there. There's no checking a box or anything else if you want coverage.
And ask your clients if they have a real estate license. You'd be surprised how many people forget. Because back in the bubble 2007, we had 7 million realtors in Arizona. A lot of them are still inactive because they love coming to renewal classes every 2 years. All right, moving on. Any more questions on owner agent? It's just it's one of those things that know the rules, follow the rules, and we're not being draconian. We're in the long run, we're trying to cover you. Yeah, Dennis.
One more question, and we can talk about it after this meeting if you want. Does any of that apply to renting your own property? Owner agent, is there any special stuff as far as?
You must disclose.
That's it.
And we require, the company requires, you still got to do a lease spuds, which is a great thing because the lease spuds actually for me is the thing to use when they go through their initial walkthrough anyway, to make sure they know there's any problems. It helps the seller or landlord go, look, I disclosed this to you. You knew it was there. Don't come in, don't come and say that you're, that you're responsible from the tenant side, that the tenant can't get blamed for it. So again, I see it as a win-win in any case. Next in our documents to talk about, septic. Septic is a compliance problem, has been as long as I can remember. And the first thing I ever talk about in septic here or in my renewal classes is the reason we make such a big deal out of septic, and the reason you should make such a big deal out of septic, is it's not real estate law. It's not the Department of Real Estate. It's not National Association of Realtors. It's the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. It's environmental law. And you don't have to be a paranoid person like me to know that you never want to get into any legal issues where the word environmental is involved. That's why there's all the disclosures, and we have special addenda for septic and for wells, because you're talking about the environment. You're talking about when you flush, where does it go? And when you drink, is it kind of come out, and is it healthy water? But the septic certification cannot be waived, period, without a waiver from Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. And the only time I've seen people get that is because they disconnect the septic and show intent to remove it and replace it by a new one, in which case they have the install certification or connect to sewer. There's been some discussions lately about title companies that will close without it. Title companies, they're not really involved in this. This is our sellers complying with environmental law in the state of Arizona, and they will go after them. And Murphy's Law was a realtor. That's going to be the one septic that there's going to be so many problems with. So it's a myth that you can waive it. There are waivers available from ADEQ, but that's up to your seller. Seller has to provide it. It's not an option. It's not really about our contract. It's about Arizona law. Anything to add, Bob? That's just a thing.
Nope. Other than the one thing to watch out for too is listings where they don't do their due diligence or their homework. And they put that it's on sewer when then you come to find out when you do your inspection, it's on septic. Those are always fun too. So
Well,
if you
there's
take a listing that's in an area that has septic, be aware of that, make sure that it's all disclosed. So.
And that's an area you can't be wrong. One of
Yep.
the biggest lawsuits in the state of Arizona was back in the 80s. It was a couple of $1 million, and that's a lot of money because the nearest sewer was 1.5 miles away. Right now, sewer lines, and this would be the benchmark, sewer lines are like $600 a linear foot. You do the math. That's a very expensive date. Next is the on the list is a lead-based paint. Again, lead-based paint disclosure is and you guys nod, Bob will nod, is one of the biggest pains in all of our behinds. It's an annoying document. I've 42 years, I've heard of one house in Phoenix having lead-based paint, but it is absolutely, again, federal environmental law, which means if you get in trouble with it, agent gets fined $11,000 if it's not done or done right. Company gets fined $11,000 per offense, and your person you're going up against is the United States Department of Justice. I don't know about you guys, but I would rather avoid court interactions with the United States Department of Justice and the Attorney General, who is the attorney for the EPA. So if we seem like we're, Nazis about it, it's because we have to be. And it is the number 2 document that I kick from SkySlope. And here's where people seem to just, I don't know what it is. It's an epidemic. Not checking line 32 or 34 in the buyer section. It has to be checked. We're going to kick it back. We don't have a choice. We would rather forget the thing ever existed. But we are always, every broker I know is just that strict about it, because there are brokers that have been audited because someone got sick in one house, and it's always kids. And, you have sick kids. That's when the lawsuits get big, and they've literally been nailed $11,000 for every file that didn't have a perfect lead-based paint. And lead-based paint is the only form per Section 8 that cannot, I believe it's 8J, cannot be signed in counterpart. It has to have everyone's signatures. We're so fortunate now, they actually allow digital signatures. When we first were doing DigiSign, they required wet ink, but it cannot be done in counterpart. We need everybody's signatures on them. They have to be filled out perfectly. I hate rejecting the things, and I know you guys hate getting documents rejected. And like Andrew says and I say every month, remember, we're not looking to reject things. We're looking to improve. If we reject it, that means someone has to take the time to review it again. You have to take the time to fix it. We like clean, perfect files. The lead-based paint is one I actually saw, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. Someone put in the contract. It was one of these investor, doodads is buying up rentals, that lead-based paint was waived. And we had well, that's very nice. You put in a contract. Unfortunately, that's a violation of federal law. And I go back, we don't want to mess with anything federal law. The other documents that we mandate, just real quick reminders, are the affiliated business disclosure is at the top of the list. This, again, federal law. RESPA, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act of 1974, redone until RESPA integrated disclosure in 2016, requires, with substantial consequences, plus actual legal liability for litigating with your client, that we disclose any financial relationship we have with, we'll just lump them all in and call them vendors. And our company we refer to those vendors as power partners. They help carry the financial weight of the company, help us keep our costs down. We help them get business. But because money moves back and forth, that must be disclosed, even on a transaction where you're not using any of these vendors. It is a broad, I would call it an umbrella issue. It has to be done on every file. And this is what I feel bad for agents, because if I was an agent, this would be a total pain to me. We take sometimes we separate from our power partners, and we're always adding new. Every time we do that, and Bob, give me a nod, We have to update it, and you have to use the most recent one. This year, we're on our third version. I feel bad for you guys having to keep up with this, and obviously we have to enforce it. Right now, there's a brand new one coming out. Is it been published yet, Bob?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. Yeah, I was out for review. I looked at it last week. There's a new one coming out. We'll let you know. We always try to splatter that on the mastermind. Everyone gets an email about it. It's in the weekly wrap. But this is one form that if you stash forms on your desktop and use them over and over, like, buyer advisory, I have that thing on my desktop and it's just a drag it because every file gets it. This is one you always want to go to your maps to your broker sumo and get the latest version from Office Docs, because it is, unfortunately, we're always moving the goalpost on you. We'd rather not have to, but we absolutely have to, because RESP is it's a pretty big law.
I have a question for the broker.
We have a broker question from across the room. Yes, ma'am.
Can't my home group upload the affiliated business disclosure document to transaction desk?
Yes, we do. But we do get it uploaded to transaction desk usually within a week or two, but a lot of people are using them off their desktop, and that's the issue. Sylvia, my lady, is the transaction desk guru. Some of you may have been to her class. She teaches all things transaction desk. So she's always like, make it transaction desk. I personally know about transaction desk. I think it's a thing you guys use. I'm not terribly familiar with the actual program. What else was on little Andrew's list here? Did I miss any other required documents? Market conditions advisory, wire fraud advisory. Let me talk a couple of seconds about wire fraud. And this is a soapbox. This is almost a sermon I teach in it. Go through every one of my real estate classes, regardless of the subject matter, because I've had this phone call. We require every buyer to sign a wire fraud warning. Most title companies I'm going to say all title companies have a wire fraud warning in their paperwork. Mortgage companies, I don't know, may have wire fraud warnings in there. I have a wire fraud warning label on my email. Nonetheless, I've gotten a phone call, young couple had $65,000 disappear. They not only didn't have their life savings and their proceeds from their previous house, they didn't have a place to live. Take it seriously. Don't just try. And they signed a wire fraud warning from our company and from the title company. This is a parental talk with your children, because in a real estate transaction, to a certain extent, sometimes we're mom. We have to have the talk with our kids, and you have to have a one-on-one conversation and tell them, like, grab them by the collar, metaphorically speaking. I mean exactly what I don't say. Grab them by the collar and say, don't you dare wire money, because you got an email from anyone, anytime. Get me on the phone, because the bogus emails come with a phone number on there, and some gal in Pakistan or India or Eastern Europe is going to answer with the all American voice and say, hi, this is Sally from XYZ title. Yes, wire that money right now. They push that button, that money is gone. And I've gotten a phone call. It was one of the saddest phone calls I've ever gotten. Our agent was heartbroken for his clients. His clients were devastated. They got a bogus email from their lender. So make sure that you have this talk with your clients, because I don't know how long you've been in business, but it'll be the worst phone call you ever get. Second, the only worst phone call I've ever gotten was had an agent call and say the seller's gotten a head-on collision and were killed in front of the title company on their way to sign loan documents. What do I do? That was the worst phone call I've ever gotten. Of course, my answer was, geez, I don't know. I've never actually considered that could happen. But other than that, this is as bad as it gets. So please take it seriously. And we definitely want that thing not just signed, but talked about. All right, Bob, what question? Do you have the question list in front of you? I don't.
I'll pull it up real quick.
Okay. Anybody have any questions while he's pulling that up? Specific things you want to ask about?
Okay, so Kelly Damaska asked, how many of the 7,000 homes of Zillow are in Arizona, and primarily where?
Last I heard, They have 200 something active. They're all over town. Their ceiling tends to be, there's 500 grand, right, Bob? When that, was it 400 or 500 was their ceiling for price? And
I
they
don't
still
remember.
have I understand, from a little inside knowledge I got, they still have a pretty good chunk of inventory, which is yet to hit the market. I think one of the things that could affect our market is if Zillow goes, screw it, let's just dump them. If they start dumping properties, they're already losing money. But if they decide we don't care how much we lose, we just want out of this thing. We don't want it. We want to get rid of our debt service. Their hedge fund has cut them off, basically, is what I understand. Then that could actually have, certainly in certain neighborhoods, that could have a little bit of effect on the market and actually loosen up and make things a little more competitive on price, which I don't believe is necessarily a bad thing, because all the pressure on prices has been upward. But right now, I understand there's like 200 something on the market, and there may be more on their way. They're going to be here for another. I think they'll probably have inventory here for at least another 6 months to a year.
Yeah, someone posted in the real estate agent forum on Zillow that I think it was a title gal that said that 200 and some Zillow listings went to canceled status on Friday, which what that's telling me and what I've been hearing is they're talking to institutional type buyers right now to buy this stuff in bulk, who will then turn them into rentals, which would be the worst thing that could happen with that inventory. But I mean, we're talking about less than 1% market share in our market. So I don't think it's going to be debilitating by any means. It would just suck to have all those houses turn to rentals. It sounds like they just want to cut and run. And then obviously if they're canceling listings left and right, then they must have found a home for them, but who knows?
I'm going to speak for everyone in the room. We wanted to be the one to write that contract.
Yeah, right.
260 houses in one deal. I'm volunteering. Dear Zillow, wherever you are, I'd be happy to resign my position and be your one-time agent and retire. What else, Bob?
Hey, Susan Truitt just wrote changes in the market. Susan, why don't you jump on and tell us what you mean by that? You there, Susan?
Unmute, Susan. Well, we'll try and answer the question anyway. Right. Changes in the market. Here's a change in the market. It has slowed down from hypersonic to pretty much hypersonic. Bob and I, and especially me, because I do it all day, every day, are in a unique position for any company anywhere to see what's going on in the marketplace because of the documents we review, and because my home group is literally in every zip code, every financial vertical, every demographic in Maricopa County, in Pima County, and in several small markets. I can tell you that the difference between list and sale price is not as drastic as it was, but things are still selling above list. I can tell you that the market above 750,000 has probably slowed. The only market that's noticeably slowed. But then again, we're also coming into that market season in the winter when the snowbirds with bucks come. But it seems to be just kind of bouncing along. I will say that having been through numerous cycles in this market, we're in a long, as a NASCAR fan, this is we're in a long run. We haven't had a caution in a while. We're historically due for one. I don't see it have anything dramatic happening. The one thing we can all watch and know that as we have a vulnerability because we are already having an affordability problem. Our median income does not buy our median house right now, price wise. So people have been priced out of the market. Interest rates are, I'm just going to call them 3% for easy numbers. We have inflation. That's what you want to watch, because if inflation continues, which it looks like it will, the natural the treatment for the disease of inflation is raising interest rates. And when I started, we were in one of those times that Jimmy Carter, the last time he did this was Jimmy Carter, and the first house I sold was at 19%. So when people cry to me about 3%, I say, bleh, try 19. If that happens and we go say from 3 to 4.5, and 4.5%, Bob's been in business long enough to say that's cheap money. There ain't nothing wrong with 4.5%. But as far as buying a house, that means my $400,000 loan is now a $384,000 loan. So, and remember, people don't buy house prices; they buy payments, and they're buying, everybody's being dumb. If they can qualify for $1,000 a month, they're spending 1,001. Everyone's maxing out. That max will be lowered, and that would be pressure on the market for prices to come down, because literally people will not be able to afford. That is our vulnerability. That won't cause a crash. It could cause a slowdown, and I don't think it'll turn us to a buyer's market. I don't know what Bob thinks. I think it will turn us into a more balanced market, which we haven't had in a long time. If you're not a person that follows the Cromford report and Tina Tambor stuff, over the next year, I'm going to be watching that thing religiously, because the way that she runs the numbers, there's a great anticipatory information in there that you can kind of see what's around the corner. But I can tell you one thing for sure: if interest rates go above 4 and go as high as 5, which I don't think they're going to go above that, we will see a calming slowing of the market, simply because people are going to say, well, it's bad enough I was having to pay $300 for that house, but now I can't even afford that. I've got to buy one for $250 because the interest rates went up. That will cause that will shrink the market, and the competition will become greater on the seller side. Not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, we are so overdue for a little calming and an adjustment. And adjustment is 3 to 7% reduction in prices over 2 years. We're probably due for that. A crash is 50% drop in 2 years, and there's no way that's going to happen. And people ask what the difference is, because prices are just where they were or higher back in 2006 and 7. The difference is we don't have tens and hundreds, maybe $1 trillion of bogus loans out there where they loan money to deadbeats who should never have gotten a house. That toxic lending is what caused the last one. There was no floor. We have a floor here, but interest rates will have an effect. So I watch the 10-year T-bills. Because if you watch the 10-year T-bills on Monday, you can know what's going to happen with mortgage rates on Wednesday. They always follow. But if you haven't studied financing and rates, this would be a good time to make that part of your book, because that's really our only vulnerability, and it's almost certain to happen. The question is how much. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, so the main thing I wanted to get out there was what you said about Tina and the Cromford report. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy a subscription, guys. There's title people, loan officers all over Facebook offering free seminars to sit in and listen to what she's saying. Tina a year ago was Cromford report was saying pretty much what's going on now, that this thing isn't going to slow down. And I mean, I've been in this valley as a broker for 23 years, and I've always been the what goes up must come down, very conservative with my clients. And a year and a half ago, I was telling everyone, guys, this isn't going to last. If you want to sell in the next few years, sell now. And they did. And I mean, it wasn't probably the best thing I could have said, because we struggled and to find them homes to move them to, right? So I'm very active in the market. I show buyers and list homes just like you guys do. The biggest question I'm hearing right now from my past clients is, where do you think this market, when's this thing going to bottom out? That's the question I keep getting asked. And a year ago, I would have said, like I did, it's not going to last forever. But now there's another line of thinking out there, and Cromford and some of the others are talking about this, and it makes more sense. I almost feel like Phoenix is finally getting discovered as for the bargain that it is, compared to where these people are moving from. And the dynamic we have now that we didn't have in 05, 06 when we crashed and burned, like John said, it's not just the lending, but it's the people coming from out of state that spigot can't be turned off. I mean, unless we have our economy totally tanks or inflation gets so out of control. I think, on the 750 and up stuff, we need to really watch the stock market because that has a big effect on people buying in that price range, especially second homes, the snowbirds. But everything I'm seeing and reading, I'm just, I'm telling my clients, guys, I don't have the crystal ball, but I don't see this spigot shutting off anytime soon. I have noticed less competition on the 400 to 800 range. When we put offers in, we're only seeing maybe 1 or 2 competing offers coming in versus 10, 12, 15 that we were seeing
126.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
record was 126 offers we had on a listing in Surprise.
Yeah.
The agent called, said, what do I do with 126 offers? My answer was, beats me. Other than not sleep, I have no idea. That's not happening anymore.
The one thing I keep reading though too is that this is unsustainable. Okay, the affordable housing issue that we have, and it's just, we can't do this forever. But I'm telling my clients, guys, I just don't know. I see it more just flattening out and getting less competitive, but I'm not seeing prices going down anytime soon. Best answer you can give them, I think. Okay.
Yep. And if they see interest rates go up, if it looks like interest rates are going up, we will see a buyer surge because people are like, I want to buy while I can because I don't want to see my dollar become worth 96 or 7 cents. So if that word gets out, watch your phone's going to start ringing because people are going to try and beat the increase. That happens every time, and that's fun to watch. Except for now, there's nothing to sell them because our inventory is still, and that's one thing we didn't talk about. Inventory is still frighteningly low. Yes. We do not have a glut. We barely have. I think we're at 6 weeks. What? I don't know. 6 weeks inventory. Yeah. So, all right. What else?
Hey, John, I got to bust a move right now and get off of here. But the last question that we had came from Georgianne, and it was how to counter iBuyers information with a seller. So I'm going to leave that with you. I've got to sign out. Everyone, thanks for showing up. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Bob. You rock.
And we'll talk to you on the hotline, I'm sure.
I'll see you on the golf course, brother.
Right. Have fun, guys.
Hey, Georgianne, are you there, Georgianne? Can you unmute? Unmute. Yeah. What? I didn't understand the question. So what is it you're asking about iBuyers?
What I've run into a couple of situations where it's difficult just to get the points across. And I was wondering if you had a more concise way to say it. Like with potential sellers, they say, well, Open Door offered me this amount of money, so I could just get it over and done with by listing with them. And so I'm trying to counter with a market value report and say, yes, but if you go with us, we can, we can get you more for your money. And then there's also hidden costs that all the iBuyers have that they're not really telling you up front. But it's been a tough discussion to have. So I was wondering if you had a better way to say it.
That, when I deal with sellers, I always try to take their eye off the price because sales price is not what sellers should really give a darn about. It's net. It's net days on the market, net hassle, and net income, the amount of the check that's on the settlement statement. iBuyers may actually be competitive, and I've seen a couple where they were paying what looked like above list and more than the house was worth. But when they back in their fees, they back in their, they have all these fancy words, but basically I call them hack fees because they're ways of hacking away at the seller's net. It's that bottom line, and they're not terribly honest and upfront about what that bottom line is. We all know you're supposed to do a net sheet for a seller and say, hey, you're selling for 400 grand. You owe 250. You're going to walk away with $107,000 or something. They actually try to avoid that conversation. So that is always where I would take it with people with iBuyers and tell them it's just like with everything we do. The devil is in the fine print. And if you've read their documents, which unfortunately, kind of like E&O, I've had to read, it's not a fun read. They're very mumbo jumbo-y, and their upfront documents are written plain language. they look so harmless. But then when you get into their secondary addendum stuff, there's fine print in there that basically says this is not as good as it looks. So always get your seller to, hey, I don't care what you're going to say you're buying my house for. How big is that check I'm walking away from title? Because that you can always compete with, because they are not going to net a seller in most cases what you or I would with a comprehensive marketing to an open market in a competitive market. It's not going to happen. They have their place. They definitely have their place out there. There's some sellers that just simply have no interest in going through the hassle of selling their house, having people come through their house, or they're in a hurry. They need to get the hell out of town. They got someplace they got to go. They need their money now. They have a place. But competing against us in a regular, straight up marketed house and getting seller the best net, we're going to beat them every time. And that's the conversation I would have. Yeah, Dennis?
Is there any place we could go to get copies almost of these iBuyers net sheets, or like, you know what I mean? Something where we could go, yeah, here's something from Zillow, here's something from Open Door. Look at what their net sheet actually looks like. They're promising you they're buying your house for 400,000, but look how much you're walking away with. If
I
Am I
know a
walking
good
the
hack-
unethical line there?
No, I'm saying I was about to go completely unethical. If I know a good hacker, I'd have that information. I'm pretty sure that is closely guarded, and they do like we do. They talk in percentages. That look, we average paying someone X% above what the house would appraise for, and they always keep it about price. And no, I have no idea. But if I had that, trust me, I would be sharing it. I would write a real estate class around it, and we would use it against them. But they're the werewolf. If they're a werewolf, that's the silver bullet right there. I don't think so. I wish.
Can we get Greg Haig's stuff? I'd really love to get my hands on 72
All right,
hours.
now
BS.
Dennis, we don't use foul language in our
I know,
Q&A. We don't talk like that. Shame on you. Go to your room. You're grounded.
All right, give me something to read while I'm in there, though.
Such horrible words to be uttered right here in front of me. Actually, there have been agents that have come from Hague. We've had some that left for them and come back, because guess what? The grass is not always greener, and it has given me some insights. But as far as the actual stuff, I haven't seen it. I will tell you this though, they're having people go online and do a questionnaire and sign something, and what they're signing is actually meets the legal requirement of a listing, and they don't even know they're listing with them. And then we go list the property and find out that it was already listed. When I'm gonna say this as politely as I can, when you hear that name, watch your back, because they're not playing fair, and I'm not a fan. And by the way, I have just full disclosure, I have a 36-year history with that particular individual. And if you ever talk to me privately, I would tell you why I hold them in such contempt. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
A couple others.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Georgianne, did you get your question answered?
I did. Thank you. I got to go meet a client. Thank you so much for all the information.
Get out of here and go sell a house, would you? Have a great day. Thanks. All right. Well, anybody else got any questions? Unmute, throw them out there. Otherwise,
John,
we'll,
I might get with you if it's okay. I'm getting ready to do a listing that has well and septic. So just to lay second set of eyes on things, just make sure I'm not missing anything.
okay. Yeah. Just call the hotline, or feel free once you fill out the documents or what you're doing to email it to me at jdyer@myhomegroup.com or brokers@myhomegroup.com. And remember that email, because the brokers@myhomegroup.com, it gets splattered to everybody, just like the hotline. And anybody else? Well, thanks everybody. Hope we shared some reasonably good information this morning. Go out. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great day. Go make some money and enjoy this lovely weather. And Mike Bruin, I see you're there. You should be golfing with me this afternoon. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much.